Hey everyone, this is Ryder from Skip. I hope you're doing well. It's Sunday, August 16th. I have a very quick update on the stimulus news, the latest on negotiations, what Mark Meadows from the White House said this morning, indicating that they're open to a compromise. I'm going to give you the latest news on COVID cases. Also, I'm going to talk about a new bill that was put forth last week that will establish a pilot program to look at guaranteed monthly income to study its effects. So that's potentially very good news. But first, I'm going to talk about the latest on the stimulus negotiations. Here's what Forbes put forth a few hours ago. Of course, this is like what Forbes puts together every day, talking about the stimulus check. Here's why it's likely. A lot of it is rehashing the same things. To give a quick recap, yes, everyone wants individual stimulus checks, both Democrats, Republicans, and the White House. There are only a few main areas of disagreement that currently exist. One of those big areas is on the USPS funding. So here's the latest on what CNN has said on the USPS funding. Democrats want $25 billion for the USPS. To give a quick recap of the situation here, basically the USPS is losing money on unprofitable routes. Companies like Amazon can cherry pick the routes that they want to serve because they're a private company. But just like many other government programs, there's an accessibility issue, and the post office needs to reach every zip code in the US, okay? That's a simplification, but that's the main issue at play. How to get funding for USPS, and particularly as it relates to mail-in voting and the surge of mail-in voting we will see to ensure that every vote sent in can be counted by Election Day. Of course, Trump and Republicans are claiming that there will be lots of fraud. They haven't found evidence or pointed to evidence yet, but they're claiming there's lots of potential fraud due to outdated voter rolls, right? Especially in states where people will get mail-in ballots by default, right? There's about 9 states doing that now where you don't have to do anything. You will get a mail-in ballot in the mail. That's your only option. California, for example, is one of those states. Now there's about 15, 20 states where you have to request the absentee ballot. And according to Republicans and Mark Meadows this morning, he said he's fine with that. Anyway, my main takeaway here is that this is a distraction from the actual relief and stimulus stuff that individuals need and that businesses need. Of course, our elections are important, and so is the integrity of our elections, but the fact that it has shifted so much to talk about the post office in regards to voting, as opposed to what the American people need, stimulus checks, help with rent, help with businesses, help with jobs. The fact that the media has shifted to talking about the USPS issues rather than the real issues is not good at all. But here's what Fox News said this morning. Chief of Staff Meadows signals that Trump would sign a bill with stimulus checks, liability protection for small businesses, PPP extension, and post office funding. Okay? If my Democrat friends are all upset about this, come back to Washington, D.C., said Mark Meadows this morning. Let's go ahead and get a stimulus check out to Americans. Let's make sure that small businesses are protected with an extended PPP and put that postal funding in there. We'll pass it tomorrow. The president will sign it. Okay, those are pretty strong words to say that he's ready to pass it and sign it tomorrow. So we'll see. Again, this was this morning on CNN State of the Union, and the interview I'll link to in the description, but his interview was with Jake Tapper. And just to reiterate here, Fox News' John Roberts on Friday asked Trump if he would be willing to offer the $25 billion for the ailing USPS, including $3.5 billion in election resources, should Democrats be willing to cave on some of the demands Trump has voiced. And he said, sure, if they give us what we want. Then he said, and it's not what I want, it's what the American people want. So just to give some context there, that it sounds like Trump and Meadows want to pass a bill. Briefly on COVID news and infections before I talk about the new bill that was put forth last week that is potentially good news. Cases have leveled a bit in the past 1 to 2 weeks. We're around 45, 50,000 cases per day over the past week. Here's where we're at, around 1,000 per day. The 7-day average has been around 1,000 over the past 10 days or so. So that's where we're at. Still too high, but at least it didn't go up, and it's not where it was in July, okay? Now, very briefly, since we cover all the new bills that get put forth, there were about 40 new bills that were introduced on August 14th before everyone went away on recess, they wanted to get in the new bills. This is, if you're curious, you can go to congress.gov. But there's one at the top here, put forth by Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman from New Jersey. She wants to establish a pilot program providing certain individuals with a guaranteed monthly income to study the effect of a guaranteed monthly income on such individuals and for other purposes. Now, the caveat here is that there are no other co-sponsors, but this is a very bold bill to put this forward. Many of you have commented about this. Of course, some version of this was in the HEALS Act to give people a monthly income, at least during the pandemic, maybe through 2021, so they don't have to worry about going back to work and being infected, exposing themselves, especially our vulnerable populations. So it's very interesting that she put this forward last week. We're going to track this as well. Again, since no large bill has been agreed upon yet, some representatives are also thinking, well, if we can't get the big bill passed, let's try for piecemeal bills. I don't know what kind of traction this will get, but we're certainly going to keep an eye on it. Finally, in terms of the EIDL news, no new news there. What we mostly hear about is the PPP funding that will get included in the new bill if and when it's signed, and we are hopeful that some EIDL funding will also be in there, or some EIDL changes. I know many of you commented that you don't think much of the SBA administrator. Please keep sharing whether you're for or against what the SBA is doing and where you're at and what you're looking for. We're still writing in to senators about the EIDL funding bill. And as always, we love your support. Please subscribe and stay tuned. We'll keep you updated with these daily videos. Meanwhile, stay healthy and stay well.